This is my bad hair day bucket hat. Aitum Vertical is a brand new OBS plugin that everyone is talking about right now. People are describing it as a game changer. The thing is, it allows you to create content both in landscape mode and portrait mode at the same time within the same OBS window. So yeah, that wasn't a thing before it now. I don't know much about it. I didn't watch any tutorial or anything except for some promotional content that I saw on Twitter. I decided to go in, download it, install it, and tinker with it for a couple minutes because I love when things are intuitive. So my goal with this video is to give you a little taste of my experience with Aitum Vertical. There's a huge majority of things that I like. There's a couple of things that I dislike, and there's a claim that they're making in their promotional content, or at least some people are making, that I wholeheartedly disagree with, but we'll talk about it after. So let's start with the installation. First thing you need to know is that this is compatible with OBS 29 and up. I was on OBS 28, so I had to update for that. Then I just went to aitum.tv. If you scroll down, you're gonna see the vertical plugin, but I also love that they added it as the first thing in their top menu. I then clicked on download, and while waiting for the file to pop up, it actually tells you 3 steps. Click on the installer that you're downloading, go through the installation steps, and then you're good. Installing plugins to OBS can be a hassle, but this one, everything went very smoothly, the least amount of clicks possible. And on top of that, once it was installed, all I had to do is restart my OBS and it was there. It was visible. I didn't have to go to menus to open anything. It was there. So first impression, I really love that it blends in with OBS perfectly. The UI is exactly the same and it's very intuitive. You have the vertical preview, the vertical scenes, and the vertical sources. So that means that yes, you'll have to create specific scenes for the vertical feed. So in the preview, we'll have the button to stream, the button to record, and the button to backtrack. So that's the replay buffer, if you will. Then you have Aitum TV, which is the website, and the settings. Vertical scenes, vertical sources, nice. So in the settings, I think this is really cool that it has its own settings, right? So you can have specific formats, resolutions, for the streaming, of course, for the TikTok key and all of that. And then recording, that's something I didn't mention in the intro. You can also just record if you want to, without streaming or without just doing like a replay buffer. You can record a full video in vertical mode. Here you can see me setting a recording path. So this is where the recorded file is going to be. In my head, this was the backtrack, so I kind of messed up there, but I'm going to realize it sooner or later. When we go back to general, we're going to see the backtrack options. And those are pretty great. We have backtrack always on, meaning you don't have to be streaming or recording to be able to capture a clip. Backtrack recording length, so you can know how far back you want it to record. Backtrack recording path, so this is where the backtrack is actually going to be stored. And then the save backtrack hotkey, which is pretty important because that's how you're going to trigger it. So I'm going to set a proper path and then we're going to go back to it. In this case, I wasn't recording with this particular instance of OBS, so I decided to put backtrack always on. I also decided to put a hotkey just to test it out a little bit later. All right, so I have a vertical scene here, and you can switch in between scenes for the vertical setup. I'm only going to use one single scene here. And now it was time for me to add sources. So I was just looking around to figure out how it works. So here the options are add source, delete source, filters, properties, and then move source up and down. So one thing that I tested here was copy source and paste source. So OBS has had copy and paste for a long time here. So I kind of assumed that Aitum Vertical would come with that option. Hopefully they will probably patch it and be able to have that. But I found it annoying to add source, even though we could add existing sources. I just feel like a setup with a bunch of properties would be easier for me to just copy paste, just like I do when I'm creating a new scene that has the same sources. So here I was trying to create a typical TikTok video. And the first thing that came to mind was to create the background. So I would add that brand new source for that specific scene, and I would add a blur. Now here's the thing, it's the same source. I specifically picked the same source and I added the blur to both sources. So that wouldn't work because it would affect my Twitch stream too, right? Takes me a little bit to realize that, and then I'm like, oh wait, I can't do that. Now this is not necessarily something new. It is a limitation, but technically if you copy a reference source and then you add a filter, it will apply to everything else. My solution to that when I'm using regular OBS is to put them in a group. Now when you right click on a source here, you actually cannot put them in a group. So I decided, hey, let me create the simplest version of a TikTok video. I'll just add my camera, maybe crop it a little bit, and then set it on top of the gameplay, and that's it. So this works, and it works perfectly fine. My problem is that this does not look good by any means. And I don't want to scale the game capture anymore because it would be cutting out too much of the gameplay. This is when I found group, And basically you can bring in groups that already exist, probably with their sources, but you cannot create new groups and put sources in them. Because you cannot drag and drop sources into groups, the only way to move them is to use that move up and move down arrows at the bottom. But you can bring a full scene as a source. So the next best thing to do is to actually create a scene for your vertical preview. Put the essentials there. Put stuff in groups if you want to add filters to them. And if you want specific sources that are only gonna show up in the vertical, in that case, you can add them under vertical sources. But I wasn't really happy about the fact that it was missing a couple of options that OBS already have, like the copy and paste or put things inside of a group. So that was pretty much my only solution. Here I tried deleting the second group and OBS just froze. This is not something that usually happens. OBS pretty much never crashes, but hey, this is a fresh install of OBS 29. Anything can be the culprit of that. Anyways, after restarting OBS, most of my vertical settings were not saved, which is understandable. OBS crashed after all, so I had to set everything back. I deleted every single source from that vertical scene, and then I created a new scene called Vertical. And from there, I used the whole beauty of OBS itself is I went to my normal gameplay scene, I selected both sources, right click, copy, went to the new scene, right click, paste, and boom, two scenes were in there with the correct format. Now all I had to do is go to my vertical source and add that scene. Vertical, boom, there it was. I would scale it up to match the format. And from there, I can start moving things to adjust them to the vertical scene. Then I can right click, copy that game capture, and then paste a reference of it, which is completely fine. Put them in the right order by clicking and dragging. So this would be my proper gameplay basically on top of the other one. And the other one is just a background. Now duplicating and cropping is something that you can actually do in the vertical sources. So this is not exclusive to my method. If you're playing a game like Apex, for example, you want your camera, you want the background, you want the gameplay, but sometimes you want the health or the ammo. So after putting that background into its own group, I could add a filter to said group. And basically here I can manipulate a lot of things. The blur filter is coming from Stream Effects. So that's the particular plugin that allows me to have that effect. And I can also lower the opacity with a color correction filter. That is a integrated filter into OBS Studio. So for the camera, I decided to put it inside a group also in order to add an effect, a filter to set group, and that filter would be an image mask blend. I wanted the corners to be rounded or to have a specific mask for that. I went into Photopea and it just took me like 1 minute to create a white rectangle on a black background. So white reveal, black hides. This is the principle of basically Luma mask, but in this case it's called Alpha mask. Save it as a PNG. Go back into OBS, pick it, and there we go. That was pretty nice. So I decided to add an image that would kind of fit the type of TikTok format that I usually do. And that's an image that I made in Photoshop really quick. And it's basically a little lower third with my name on it and the Twitch logo. All I had to do is place it. Basically, I'm figuring out just how practical I can make this. So I have to do the least amount of editing possible, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Here I have a little social media pop-up that I put on a loop. I don't really use this for my TikToks, but I wanted to use this as an example of all the different things that you can put to really make this look different from just your Twitch stream. Since we're creating this in a separate scene too, you can also add your alerts and place them perfectly for your TikTok, like in the middle and things like that. You can also have maybe a corner for your chat and also add effects to those things. If you manage to have a browser source for TikTok alerts, you can put that on, and yeah, they will only show up on TikTok and not on your Twitch. Although I would advise putting both. And now it was time to basically test triggering that backtrack. So I set the folder on the left here, and yes, when you click on it, it actually takes that clip basically. Or if you press the keyboard shortcut, when it's highlighted blue, that means that backtrack is always on. Basically, it's ready to take a clip. And then I checked out the clip. Looks pretty good to me. So I set up the keyboard shortcut once again, and I'm basically gonna try to trigger it via my Elgato Stream Deck. Aitum's official Twitter account basically posted a way that you can use their bot in order to trigger it so that it's compatible with Stream Deck, but it was a little complicated. You had to use the whole bot. You had to download the Stream Deck app that goes with it just to trigger the backtrack. I'm guessing if you're gonna use everything, then that's a good idea. In my case, hey, Stream Deck can do keyboard shortcuts. I set up a keyboard shortcut, and that was it. System, hotkey, click to assign, press the combination, pressed it, tested it, and it works. Now we can talk about the problems with my method. Obviously, I kind of sacrificed something kind of important in order to create a vertical scene that would be on my normal OBS. The thing that I sacrificed is the ability to be able to move the source or manipulate the sources on the same screen under the vertical sources tab, because the only thing that we have now is a scene. But in order to fight that, you can just go in studio mode. So let's say if you're on your gameplay scene and you want to switch something in the TikTok scene, you enable studio mode, you go to vertical, which is the TikTok scene, you move what you have to move, and then you click on studio mode again to go back to Twitch. So Twitch will not see a difference, but you will be able to edit that vertical scene. And that's it. That's the solution. Of course, it adds one extra step, but I need that step in order to put things in groups, in order to add filters. Once again, I'm pretty sure they are aware of it. I would be very surprised if they didn't have plans to add copy paste, paste reference, paste duplicate, basically all the options that OBS is already giving us with the sources. And of course, being able to put stuff in groups and add effects to those groups. So that's basically my experience with Aitum Vertical. I think it's great. I love how easy it is to just install and get going. I was scared to upgrade to OBS 29, but I had no issues. All of my filters are actually working. Motion transition and something else. Face tracking, I haven't tested that one yet. But things that I like, everything, basically. The idea that I can still make it work with my Stream Deck without downloading anything and installing anything else, just with a keyboard shortcut or just with a keyboard if you don't have a Stream Deck. I love that. The fact that you can also just record, I feel like not enough people are talking about that, because you can be live on Twitch and decide to record specific content for other platforms in vertical mode. I think that's pretty cool. Like gamers, of course, something cool happens, you want to backtrack, you want to clip it. But for YouTubers, for example, or just TikTok content creators in general, the idea of being able to record a video in a specific format while you're also live is pretty cool. It's great. Things that I don't like, again, I don't like the fact that we don't get every option that OBS gives us with the sources. I haven't tried Control-Z, but it is not a one-to-one comparison with how your normal scenes and sources operate, basically. That's something that I kind of dislike. Again, I think they're smart enough to be able to update that very soon, probably. So copy paste, put things in groups is a big thing for me. But as you can see, I could easily bypass that by just creating my own scene and just going to the studio mode in order to move it around. All right, in the intro, I mentioned there was one sentence that I really dislike. I saw it a couple of times on Twitter and I was like, that's weird. And that sentence is that, oh, you don't have to pay a TikTok editor anymore. And I've worked with a lot of companies before with sponsored content and things like that. And sometimes there's someone in the higher ups that wants you to switch a sentence for something that doesn't necessarily make sense to you. But hey, you got to do it. If you're paid to do it, that's what you got to say. The idea that you being able to do basically a shadow play in the correct format is gonna replace a TikTok editor is kind of wild to me, right? Let's say you set it up, right? You set up the backtrack, you put it 30 seconds. Every time you press that button, that's 30 seconds. Maybe the clip that you just took lasted 5 seconds, right? Or even worse, maybe the clip that you wanted to take lasts 1 minute and you only got 30 seconds because you couldn't anticipate. Now, if you want to anticipate, maybe you're gonna put it to 1 minute. That's what I used to do with shadow play with the intent of editing later on. So that would mean that your TikTok editor, that you would be paying someone to just take your clips and put them in the right format and then give them to you without cutting them, without zooming in, without putting captions, without doing anything. They just use Streamladder and then they send the file to you. Anyone paying TikTok editors to do that? If you are getting scammed. Stop. There's a bunch of services that will do this. Some of them will do it automatically while you're still live. I think a TikTok editor does more than just take your clip and put it in portrait format. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. I want to believe that a TikTok editor would, cut the clip, at least trim it. Even if they don't cut in the middle, at least trim it to the essential parts. But on top of that, yes, do some cuts, make it shorter, do some zooms, play around with the layers a little bit, maybe add sound effects, maybe add captions, maybe add filters and all that stuff. But no, Aitum Vertical is not going to do any of that for you. It's just going to take the clip, but it's going to be in the right format. It's going to look good. Don't get me wrong. But is it going to be too long, maybe too short? That's also very possible. It's not going to edit the clip for you. But anyways, I hope this will still motivate people to post more on social media. I think every other Twitch guru knows how hard it is to actually get the community to be active as content creators. I feel like if you weren't using Shadowplay or Replay Buffer and posting them even in the wrong format to social media, I don't think you're gonna start doing it now. I really wish you would start doing it now. But one thing is for sure is that this brings us one step closer to being able to post to Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok. And that's a good thing. That's a positive. But don't fire your TikTok editor over that. And unless that was exactly what they were doing. If all they were doing is putting your camera up there and your gameplay in the middle and then sending it to you, fire that TikTok editor. That's not an editor. Now, me personally, am I gonna use this for streaming on TikTok? Absolutely. Like there's, of course, like I have to use this if I'm gonna stream on TikTok or even potentially Instagram. I have to, I don't have a choice there. Am I gonna use it for my clips? I'm not sure. One thing that I love with Twitch clips and then setting them to the right format is that depending on who clips it, the clip is going to be short enough. It's going to be trimmed already, depending on who clips it. But most of the time, I will go back, watch my VOD, and take my own clips. What are the disadvantages? Yes, if I stream for 3-4 hours, I have to sit down and watch 3-4 hours worth of content. Now I watch it in two times speed, so that helps me. But the thing is, I get to trim the clips exactly how I want them. Now, those are ready to post technically, right? When it comes to length and the subject. The other huge advantage of doing that for me, I'm talking about myself, this is not the advice part, this is what I do. The huge advantage for doing that, going back and clipping your stuff, is that the clips stay live. The clips are available on your channel. If anyone goes to your Twitch channel and they're looking for, hey, I wonder what this content is like, and they go to clips, you have clips that you personally handcrafted to stick to the subject and just deliver the content. I like to be able to send a link to a clip or have people watch my clips when they come to Twitch. Or sometimes I'll raid someone and then they have this shout out thing and they're like, hey, you want me to play a random clip of your channel? And I'm like, yes, because I know I have a bunch of really good clips. But anyways, this was Aitum Vertical. If I got anything wrong, please let me know in the comment section. I started the video by telling you I don't know much about it. I didn't watch any tutorial. I just went in there. So it's possible that I got a couple of facts wrong. If you have any tips or tricks in order to do some cool stuff with it, also leave them in the comment section below. I'm not the only one here to teach you stuff. You can also teach me stuff. But that's it. Now you know what I think about Aitum Vertical, and I'll see you next time. Go check out my Twitch. On February 10th, I'm doing like an amazing stream where I'm going to give away some games. I'm going to be giving away money, so you don't want to miss that. On top of that, I'm going to teach you how to do a full content creator / Twitch streamer workflow. All right, I'll see you next time. Go out there, make me proud. Get level out.